with now the rest of the recording. Want to look at these textures that people have been doing. And we'll talk about them. And let's see, that's not going to work on it. That's not going to do it. We only have a couple minutes, but I want to go through as many of these as we can, looking at what people have done. And one thing that I've noticed is that on the textures, there were examples where I asked people to rework their stuff, and they did. And I'm really appreciating that quite a bit. So we're going to go ahead and share this. All right, and I think this may be this is one of those where I think that people reworked it a bit, but I think that this is a fantastic example. I mean, the collage, you can see lots and lots of different pieces, but you can see that they're playing with different expectations of color, which is really great. This is nice. And then I really like how they developed the color, the texture on that. I think that that worked out really, really well. And I'm just, forgive me for just a second here as I'm trying to switch this over. All right, here we go. So this is one of those things that I will be grading uh like tonight and tomorrow and getting all those things done. But you guys have been I'm really liking this because what I'm seeing is that people are reworking stuff and resubmitting it, which is excellent. Okay, we get this. All right, this you can't really see this too well, but this person used a pin and made a really intricate texture with the pin. Again, we can't, I mean, there are some other photos that are better. Here they kind of tore this out, so it's almost like a turtle shell kind of thing. And here you can see that they did a lot of little pieces um, with the texture for the, I mean, several pieces, excuse me, for the color texture. And I thought that that turned out well too. And I'm trying to not to show ones that we've already seen, but we may have already seen these. So we may have seen this. I just I like the fact that this is all these letters in different colors layered on top of each other over and over and over again. I think that that's quite fun. And then this, a lot of different stripes made. And I think that's an interesting way of getting applying the color. I think that that's really fascinating. All right, here's this one is quite fun. I some of the things I really like about this, you can see how they did a hole punch out of there and then applied holes onto this. Just some really fun ideas for making the collage, which is really interesting. And on this, they did weaving and moss, lots of string wrapping and everything, and spray painted the whole thing. That's quite cool to look and see. I'm just trying to get over there. And I realize, okay, we have about 22 minutes left. That's good. Okay. Okay, we've already seen that one. And what I'm doing off camera is finding ones to share with you that we haven't seen already. And like I said, some of them we may have, but I'm trying to show ones that people have either reworked or resubmitted. Well, this is kind of a fun one. It looks to me like the person did not do the collage, they did painting instead. So that might be an issue. Um, they did an interesting job with the painting so that it feels like, collage-like. So that collages are separate pieces of paper that are applied. I do really like the kind of texture. This one is more of a subtle one. This is kind of shredded bark put on there, and this is looks like beans or shells of some sort glued in order. And I this is really kind of interesting and well done. Okay, so that's it for the textures. Now with the ready-mades, I want to look, I think we have a couple ready-mades to look at, and I want to do, and we'll talk about them. Okay. So here's one. I really like how this is photographed. I think this is a really good photo. I think it's excellent. I like it because it's clean. It's done with that kind of infinity screen feel. It doesn't feel like it's just somebody just set it in their kitchen and took a photo of it without caring about the background. It looks intentional. I like how it's very formally designed. So let's see what they wrote. The object is a mesh strainer designed to let water through, like pasta. Okay. So it's just a regular mesh strainer. However, economic strain. All right. I love that title because when we go back and look at it some more, we're looking at, okay, we recognize that this isn't just a straining a regular thing. This is a packet of ramen noodles, which famously associated with people that want to save money on food. Okay, so that's really interesting. Plain background in order to highlight the object, put some uncooked ramen noodles inside the strainer, entitled the object so think people would think about the double meaning of strain. I like that. So very intentionally photographed with the ramen noodles in it and everything, and that really highlights the title. And, gives you some more ideas about the title, and it becomes a commentary with the title and the imagery becomes a commentary, and it shifts the context away from just being an object. I like that. They've done a good job thinking that through. That was well done. Okay. I want to get to the next one. Okay, here we go. All right. So this is I like photos like this when people take them because it starts to feel like it's dynamic. It starts to feel like a fashion type style photo, very formal, very controlled. I think that's well done. So this is originally a desk fan made in China and designed to be put together in a production line. So that's what they're talking about. And then title a gated tunnel. That's really interesting to me. Calling it a title like that really starts forcing the viewer to think about why is it titled this? That's interesting. Trying to look through the fan to capture the view through the fan. Trying to look at the inside, how it brings things through, but is enclosed and blocked off. That's really an interesting way of looking at it. So the focus is not so much on the fan, but seeing the things through the fan. This kind of reminds me of things like the subway gates systems. They're designed to force people to pay the toll getting through the subway gates. So that's really interesting to me. And it says it becomes art because we're looking at a completely different perspective. And I really appreciate looking through the objects instead of necessarily at it. That's fascinating to think about that. I love that take on the recontextualizing. So very, very nicely done. Great work. All right, now we're going to look at the colorful cocoon object. And this one, I really love what people have been doing with um, uh, the ready-made. I think you guys have done an excellent job with the ready-mades. I'm just setting these ready-mades up so we can look at them. Now, the ready-made objects, this is going to be a tough one for some people. But if I'm making comments about it and you don't agree with it, that's fine. You have a right to. But there are some very specific things that we talk about for this assignment. And so we're gonna look at a couple of these. Okay, here's the first one. Sorry, I was trying to set it up so you didn't see the person's name. Okay, so it looks like it's a chair that is covered with a crocheted blanket. Now, I think this is a really excellent and solid start. However, there's some things that detract immediately, and a big part of that is the photography. The photography of this is just not highlighting this structure at all. I mean, we can see a bunch of stuff in the background, and this is not a ready-made. This is the cocooning. And so the background stuff, I mean, a couple of the ready-mades, they did that specifically to highlight the changed function of the object. That's not going to be true of this. The first thing I would suggest this person to do is design a way to rephotograph this so that it's, drape the sheet behind it and set it so that the bottom of the sheet comes towards us and set the chair on the sheet. Um, so that when we photograph it, we see just the chair and we're not distracted by the outside. And perhaps that would help with the other things. But I think it's really fascinating to drape this with the crocheted material. But with the cocooning thing, what I would recommend is using a lot more string or string-like material to wrap this with, to the point where this string, it's we looked at some of the things like Judith Scott, where the whole thing is a cocoon made out of string, and something like this, there's two ways to go. Either one, wrap it with so much string that we're finding it difficult to see the crochet material. So a lot more string than this. And I would use rope and electrical cords or extension cords, things like that of nature. Um, that's one way. Wrap it with so much string that we can't see it because we can still easily identify this as a chair. That's fine, but the silhouette is still very much that of a chair. The other direction is to get rid of the string, get a lot more stuff that looks crocheted or knitted like this, and drape it with that. Not drape it, but wrap it with that. Wrap it with quilts and afghans and things like that, so that it's totally, the shape of the chair is lost with all the quilts and afghans and scarves draped on it. And then if you need to hold that together with some string, do that so that it's kind of like Jean-Claude and Crystal, how they used string and rope, different kinds of string and rope to hold things together. And that's what I would recommend, doing several layers of crocheted afghans and things like that on that. And I think that could, those two, either a lot more string or a lot more Afghan uh, crocheted knitted type material. Either one of those, plus doing a better photo would really help this quite a bit. I think it's a great idea. It just needs to be pushed a little bit. And I think it'll work out really well. Now this one, um, looking at this one, I'm thinking this might be headphones and stuff like that. What I'm liking about this is that the person has really done a good job with hiding what the original object is. There's a lot of, I mean, it takes a little bit of looking to notice what it is. And some of the things that are happening is they're using ribbon to kind of tie it together. They're using yarn to wrap the headphones, and they're using um, plastic wrap as well. So there are objects that you can kind of see what's going on, but they've put all of the objects together and wrapped them all together. So it is really difficult at the beginning to pick out exactly what they are. And it takes some time looking at it to figure that out. And I think that and I like how they stayed pretty consistent with the color scheme. I think this is going along in a really good direction. Now this one, um, I think would be really good as a ready-made. You know, it looks like they're candies in a bag, and the net is holding all the candies. Now I don't see how this fits with the cocooning thing because I don't see anything wrapped. The net bag is a standard bag, and it's not really being used to wrap these candies. Now, if the intent was to do that, then I would say get a couple other bags and make several layers of them. And this would be really interesting to do something where maybe you get a really flexible sock that's hard to see through, or several other net bags that you can over, surround each other with. You know, put them in there so that you have several different layers of the net bag. That might be really interesting. Or another way to do this is, what if these candies are wrapping something that's in there? That might be really interesting. You know, having an object in there that's wrapping it. From what I read, it's the candies wrapped in a bag, and that really doesn't fulfill the requirements of the cocooning. But another thing that might be interesting is leaving this just the way it is, and instead of adding another bag to it, maybe use another material to wrap and tie this together, you know, and do some place it with some ideas like that by using several different layers of yarn. So we just see a little bit of this poking through. But again, you know, the silhouette needs to be hidden and it needs to feel like a cocoon. And we can go back to the original assignment really quick and look at that. I think the examples that I gave in that assignment are pretty good for this kind of thing. And I'm getting to that right now. And okay. So we're looking at a couple of these things. These are the sticks that Jason made. And then here's the student examples. You know, yeah, you can kind of tell what that object is, but it's completely hidden with all the different elements of garbage used to wrap it. And then here, yeah, we can see what that is, but you see how much the silhouette has been changed just with the different layers of saran wrap. So with some of these, I would really like people to take that to heart. You know, think about this kind of thing where they're using several different kinds of things to wrap the object, or this kind of thing where they're using several different kinds of things to wrap the object. Here, the wrapping is all plastic wrap, but they're doing different things to a plastic wrap to give it kind of its own interesting texture. And maybe that might be something to consider for those other things that we looked at. Use something as simple as plastic wrap, but as you wrap around it, just do a whole lot to it. You know, do different things to it with like a blow dryer or by turning the roll around as you wrap it to give it different texture, different things like that. So put some consideration and thought into this, making it, because the cocoon, you should not be able to tell immediately what the original object was. And that's the whole point of the cocoon. And we are intentionally wrapping an object to kind of give it a new identity by hiding its old identity. Look at Judith Scott. Use Judith Scott as inspiration. Use Jean-Claude and Christo as inspiration, and that will really help uh, you to move forward in this. So consider those things as we move forward. Now, as we are coming to the end of the term, we only have a couple weeks left. Like I said, I will get everything else graded over the next couple days, so you see exactly where you stand. If you need more time, let me know. I believe that I have until the end of April to put grades in, which gives you a few more days. If you need more time than the 24th, that is totally fine. Let me know. And we will meet again next week and also the week after that to look at what people have turned in, to talk about it and move forward so that we can get everything else finished. I think we still need, let's see, people are turning in their quizzes and things like that. Um, Watching the videos is a really integral part of grading, and I've one or understanding the assignments. And one thing that I've noticed is that there is a direct correlation between the people that are watching the videos and telling me that they're watching them and how well they do on each of the assignments. And that is very impressive. So there's this thing that needs to be done: artist research or service learning, reflection and opinion paper. This is the just an opinion paper about your project, or if you did the artist research, 5 paragraph opinion essay about your artist. So that's something that is still to be done. And then we also look at modules. I'm sorry, right up here, we have applying the tools of artistic critique, the own work and someone else's work. Both of those things. Oh, that is horrible. Okay, this says, oh, I see what okay. I'm sorry, I got to the wrong. I'm looking at all these horrible dates. Fall for full term. I switched. This is the one that we should be on. There we go. I'm sorry about that. I hope you aren't completely confused. If we go up to applying the tools of artistic critique, own work and someone else's work, these all need to be turned in by Sunday. And I think there's about 12 that need to be done by people. So make sure you get those taken care of as soon as you possibly can. And then we have the Mighty Voltron sculpture revisit. We just talked about that. And we've been talking about contemporary processes. I've been very impressed with the Readymades. You guys have been doing a really good job on that. Colorful cocoon or wrapped object. We just looked at a few of them. Again, some of the important things is the silhouette of the shape needs to be substantially transformed. And I would say once you get done wrapping something, look at it and wrap it again with more material. Look at it and wrap it again. Add to it, layer it until you see an object that is all wrapping, essentially. That when we look at Jean-Claude and Crystal, that's what the stuff starts looking at. When we look at Judith Scott, they just look like all you see is the cocoon. You don't see any of the objects inside. So think about that. If you didn't get all the points you want, look at why. And a lot of the times it's because people haven't taken, um, it may be as simple as somebody didn't take a really solid photo. Uh, Again, drape a sheet down like we've been talking about, take a photo like that. Or if you can't get to the school, take an image in the photo lab. And a lot of the times, the difference between one grade and another is just looking at my comments and doing the little bit extra to get that taken care of. It's not because you're a bad artist. It has everything to do with the intent and parameters of the assignment. So if anybody has any questions, let me know. But I'm liking where people are going. So next week we're gonna talk more about these last little um, last approaches of the sculpture where you add the texture and color and um, the remaining assignments. Again, get stuff done and turned in as quickly as you can. If I don't regrade it right away, let me know and I'll take care of it just as soon as I possibly can. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much. I don't want you guys to be stressed out in the last 2 weeks of the semester. Do the best you can to avoid that. But we do have stuff that we've got to get finished. So if you need more time, let me know, and I'm happy to do whatever I can to help you out. So my goal is to help you succeed, not to make your life miserable. All right, guys. Thank you very much, and I look forward to uh, uh, talking to you again next week. And we'll see you.